This is day 4 of me relearning how to draw. So today I decided to draw something that I used to draw a long time ago, back before I quit in the first place. And that leads me to today's topic of teachers. Teachers are incredibly important. I don't care what anyone says. Teachers matter a lot. They really do make a difference. They make changes. They influence people both for good and for ill. I'm sure that we can all relate to having a bad teacher that just made everything miserable. Of course, I've had my fair share of bad teachers, and I've had some also really amazing teachers too. I don't know how it is around the world, but at least here where I live, teachers aren't exactly seen as a good profession. They don't really get much respect, and they don't really get much compensation for the work that they do. And I think that's an incredible shame, considering how much teachers truly do affect the youth of a community. When I was young, when I was like 11 or 12, something like that, this was around the time that I had lost my grandmother, and then the year afterwards, I lost my grandfather. And then the following year after my grandfather's death, my mom got cancer. I didn't really know what exactly cancer was at the time. I just knew that it was bad and that she was sick. And overall, that time period just was not a good time. I was clinically depressed. I also had a lot of some physical ailments, like really severe asthma, so I couldn't even like jog without feeling like I was gonna pass out. So I had no physical outlet. I had lost a lot of things, a lot of people in my life that I truly cared about, and my mom was suffering too. So, as a way to cope, I ended up drawing. I drew a lot of different things, and for some reason, I really liked drawing crabs. I'm not really sure why, but I really liked it. Unfortunately, one day, when I was in class, it was a science class, I remember that much. I was looking for my homework. Now, keep in mind, I was actually a pretty decent student, which to me is surprising considering how much I was going through at the time. I didn't cause trouble, I didn't cause fights. I just kind of stuck to my own, did my classwork, and then drew in my free time. I was going through my binder looking for my homework. I knew I had done it, and if I remember correctly, it was like in the back of the binder, but I was going through my drawings trying to find my homework. My teacher came by, saw that I didn't have my homework yet, and she was upset. She was very, very upset. I'm not sure why she had such a visceral reaction, but she did. And what she did next is something that I think is absolutely deplorable as a thing that a teacher can do. She took my binder. First, before that, she berated me for not having my homework, for wasting time on drawings. She took my binder and she showed my drawings to the class and basically used them to shame me. She publicly berated me in front of the class and mocked my drawings. And then she made a grand show of taking my whole binder with all of my stuff in it, my schoolwork, my drawings, everything, and dumped it in the trash can. Nobody said a word. It was very out of character for the teacher, I guess. I don't think anyone ever expected her to do something like that, but she did. And to this day, I don't know why. I stopped trying to understand why. But what I do know is that it affected me deeply. That I barely remember anything at all that happened after that. In fact, that whole year after that was kind of a blur for me. What I do remember though is that at the end of the class, my teacher allowed me to get my binder back. Allowed me. Allowed a 7th grade child to pick through the garbage to get their schoolwork back. But before I left, she made sure of one thing, that I tossed all of my drawings in the trash. I took only my binder, my schoolwork, everything else, all of my drawings, everything, my sketches, whatever, had to remain in the trash. And after that day, I never drew again. When I went home, I threw away all of my drawing stuff. Whatever drawings I didn't have with me, whatever stuff that I use for drawing, whatever color pencils or whatever, that I tossed it all away. I stopped drawing. I receded even more in my shell. And it took a very, very long time for me to get out of it. Now that was a bad teacher. That was an awful teacher. What she did affected me for so long. And even to this day, the memory of it still hurts. I'm trying to overcome it, but it's one of those things that has just been ingrained into me that even if I forget everything else that year, I can still remember that incident so very clearly. And even if I wasn't going through a tough time, even if I was, not the best student, even if I, was a bit louder, I don't think that what she did ever has any justification. But that was a bad teacher. Let's talk about something more positive, a good teacher. As some teachers can have a very profoundly bad influence, others can have a really good influence teacher, a good influence too. They can be good influential teachers. In high school, it was 11th or 12th grade. I was still kind of in my shell. I had more friends. I opened a bit more, but I was still very, very reserved. I was still very scared. And I had a history teacher. Unfortunately, I don't remember his name. I don't remember any of my teachers' names, really. But what I do remember is that he was a great teacher. He was passionate about history. He was passionate about teaching the students. He was passionate about being involved in the students' lives and helping them as a teacher. Because of him, I actually got really into chess. As an extracurricular, I joined the chess club. I did tournaments. I did all this stuff. I considered him a friend. He was a very good guy. And what I can say is that while memories fade, while I'm not even sure if he remembers me anymore, I remember that he was such a good influence on me. He answered questions with a level head, even if they weren't strictly about school, even if they were just about opinions. He gave honest opinions, but came at it from multiple angles. He taught me to look at things from more than one angle, to observe the situations, to observe the viewpoints, to not just be blinded by one thing, to actually use critical thinking, essentially, to properly examine things, to not simply be led astray by whatever people tell me. And while sometimes I fail in those lessons, they still do stick with me. They are a constant reminder to me to do better. Like, when I think of that teacher, I think of how I want to be a good influence for the next generation, for all the upcoming generations. I want to be someone who, even if I'm not super influential, even if I'm not, I don't know, famous, cool, whatever, I don't know. What I care about is being able to be someone who can be a source of guidance, good guidance for people who need it. And I can honestly say that while I only knew them for 2 years, during my junior and senior year, I genuinely turned out to become a better person for it. I respect him. I respect him a lot. And I respect all of the teachers that are doing their best to guide their students, that are doing their best to try and teach and constantly work towards bettering themselves, and so that they can better teach their students and help guide them. I've had plenty of teachers who are like that. I had my German teacher. She was such a sweet, kind lady. I had an English teacher who would always tell us stories about her time living in like Japan and other places, and also warn us about the dangers of the world and about being smart and careful about things, but also letting us dream, to chase our dreams, to want to explore more of the world. While I've had some bad teachers that deeply affected me, I've also had some good teachers who truly inspired me. And I think that is one of the most amazing things about teachers. And so, if you're a teacher struggling, if you're someone who wants to be a teacher, I want you to know that I respect you. I respect every person who wants to help others learn to grow. And I want you all to know that teachers have a profound effect on people. Whether or not students show it, there is such a huge effect that teachers can have. And I hope that someday we as a society, especially where I live in, again, I don't know how it is in other places, but where I live in at least, teachers can be given the respect that they deserve. Because what they do is important. What they do is very, very important. So yeah, that is my story of teachers. A bit abbreviated, but yeah, that's more or less how it is. I had some really bad teachers, and I had some really amazing teachers. And they've all had a deep effect on me as a person growing up and until now. So, yeah. Time lapse at the end once more. Yeah, that's about it. All right. I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.